What's up, Liron here, and in this episode of Painting Masters, we'll be looking at work by Amit Kapoor, a very talented Indian watercolor painter from New Delhi. His work is beautiful. It's just the style that I like, with the impressionism and a lot of saturated colors. Aside from that, from being very well renowned as a watercolor painter, I believe he also started an art and animation school in India, and he's also, I believe, the vice president of the IWS, the International Watercolor Society. So an interesting character and a beautiful, beautiful artwork. So let's get started and look at some of his paintings. Now, I had tons of paintings I wanted to review, so we're going to have to go over them quickly. But I did want to start with this one, which is spectacular. And the one thing I have to say about this painting is the sense of scale. This is one thing that is always a challenge to convey. It's not as easy to sometimes show how much of a larger space you want to capture. And here, using the tiny people and the cars and all the buildings in the background, he really does a great job at that. And I absolutely love this. This is one of my favorites of all of the paintings I'm going to show you. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see some more of the details here. And just everything about this is so smart. Now, what I like about Amit's work is the way he approaches the painting process makes things, and I zoomed out a bit on purpose, it makes everything easier, or at least seem easier, because notice how he treats the background. He just leaves some room for the highlights, and then he does the whole wet and wet, allowing things to blend together. Notice there's kind of this smoke here, blended. Reds of the buildings, blended. A bit of touches of yellow, blended. It all works so well. And then, when it's time, he tightens it and makes it sharper and have more crisp change. Crisper, is that even a word? Changes, and it's just beautiful. And then all of these small, tiny details of the light lamp posts or whatever those are, just beautiful. Let's see what else we have here. This one I really love. And this, I actually got this. I saw this off of his Facebook page, and he says that was a quick 20-minute demo. So 20 minutes for this thing. So impressive. He has this way of doing things that's very efficient and effective and produces a beautiful result. Really, really skilled painter. And I love everything about it. Really, the composition here works really well. All of the colors, like notice the transitions here. You have some blues in the outer peripherals of the painting, then some reds, very strong, and he puts them on the edge of the painting, and they still don't grab too much attention. And then some lighter oranges, and then the blue here, this more cerulean or turquoise, or a bit of a something that actually looks like the sea. Is such a beautiful thing, and so much sense of movement and dynamic action, because you have all the birds here and the people and the cars, and everything works so well together. Next up, and this is funny, this is a scene that I've shown in the Manel Plana video. If you remember, he painted the exact same scene, but from a different angle, I believe from the right. So you saw this road leading upwards and that tower, and it's a very, very interesting thing, because this really feels almost like a sand castle, and he uses so much orange in it and purple, and we're not used to, kind of like my scorching street painting, we're not used to having these things with such a strong and bright orange, but it does the job really well here. Another thing I noticed is, and this is really important, the foreground. It's always important, I find, to darken it just a bit, and he does that almost in all of his works, where there is this kind of scene consistently, and it's beautiful. That it really is important, because it feels a little empty and there's no good sense of light if you don't have a bit of a darkness in the foreground most element, such as this road, for example. You see very light shading with purples and then maybe a bit of oranges, and it works so well. The negative painting around all of these different umbrellas and colorful umbrellas, it's so beautiful, and the trees and the sense of movement, as always, just beautiful. This one I wanted to share with you in particular for two reasons, which are actually one. So notice how much how much of a simpler background he created. Then we don't see the reference, obviously, but you can tell everything is kind of merged together, and he uses wet and wet very skillfully to achieve that. It's really hard to get these accurate dispersions and preserve the colors. He didn't just go ahead and did it immediately. He actually waited for a while so they disperse properly. That's, at least from my perspective, that's how it seems. And also, he used that same wet on wet effect here near the shoreline, or whatever it is, a lake, a river, whatever, to get these effects of sand and in the water, that transition from water to sand. It looks spectacular, really. Next up, we have this. This is another one where he treats the background so simply, and this is something I'm working on. Just simplify the background. I'm sometimes way too literal with it, and I love this style of simplifying it, and it makes it easier for you, the artist, and it's a style I love, and it makes it easier for the viewer to read. And there's so much finesse in how he finishes the painting. Like, notice all of these masts of the small boats, and how they create this beautiful sense of, you have so many boats here, but barely any of them are painted. We have 3 here, maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 and 5 behind this one, and the people work really well. And I love this combination of that strong turquoise. It looks beautiful, really. Oh, and there's this boat here. It's so effectively blended into the scene that I haven't even thought of it. And also the shadows underneath, they're so smart. The way he does things is just so smart. Let me show you another one. So this one I really like just because of its crispness and its simplicity. Really straightforward, just buildings, boats. A lot of shapes are merged together, which you have to do if you want to produce a result that's beautiful and harmonious. This one I love. A bit of a different reference material, a train. I don't think I ever really showed a train painting here on Painting Masters. So here's one, and it's gorgeous. Really, I love the way these reds turn into this highlight here, and the blues. And if you look at the details, so smart how he treats these different. This bridge and then these different metal parts. It's so good. And then the people obviously here to add some life to the scene. The tracks, everything here is so smartly done. Here's another one. I love his cityscapes because when you look at them, it really helps you better understand the process, because you can tell that where he doesn't want the paint to blend, he painted with a gap, with a little gap. So you can see all sorts of gaps between the parts that are more well blended and the parts that are a little quicker and looser, a little sharper, and crisper. And this is one of them, and I absolutely love this one. Another one that I really like, notice how this part is sent to the back. It's all blurry, and then here you get some sharpness. I think the way he did the people here is really smart. He used a lot of yellows and reds and blues, and I think that's a really nice kind of complementary colors for the rest of the painting. And it's probably the same ones he used, so it's very harmonious. I love all the small touches of opaque paint, or maybe just paint out of the tube, like for these windows here in the shadow, and for this line between the sides of the buildings. It's just the way he does it is so smart. Notice here the negative painting, how he made sure to leave a small gap, probably for practical purposes of having it not mix, not necessarily to have a highlight there. Just so smart, and all of these different strokes of color, watery color. I absolutely love this. Here I wanted to show you an example of a sketch. I don't know where, I just found it on Google Images, and it's so beautiful because it shows you again the window into the artist's eye. This really reminds me of Manel Plana's work because it's so basic in the best sense of things. It has everything you need and nothing more, and it's beautiful, and it's a great sense of location. The atmosphere could have been conveyed better with paint, but I'm sure he did that deliberately. And as you can see, it's in a sketchbook. It's just a study, and it's stunning. Really, really beautiful work, monochromatic. So I love these more rough works that give you a window into the artist's eye and how they think about things and shapes and whatnot. Because this really goes to show you how everything is connected. Let's see what else we have here. This one I love just because of the colors of this section here. Notice how this, I don't even know what to call it. So this is clearly some kind of a blue or greenish blue. But then this transition into pale peach or orange, I love that. And with the sharp changes from the different sides of the wall, I really like that. I am missing, by the way, I'm missing two things. First off, a bit of a darkness on this tower or building or whatever, but probably he did that on purpose so it doesn't pull your attention too much. And second is just a strong shadow under that boat. It seems to go immediately into a reflection of a bright white. There isn't really there's a lot to criticize. Some of his drawings I don't think are as accurate, but the result is phenomenal. I have zero critique for his work, and almost for any artist that I show here, really. So beautiful, beautiful work. Absolutely love this one. This is one of my favorites here because the atmosphere is so strong. It's against the light. You can see by the shadows moving towards us. So it's kind of against the light, but they don't move. The sun isn't behind us. It's a bit to the left. So what happens is, notice how the sun kind of pours over above the buildings and makes them be so bright and light in some areas and then super dark here. And it works so well. This appears to me like water, bridge and water, and the water is golden green, and it's so smart. Honestly, I haven't seen a lot of scenes that look like this, that are so beautiful. Haven't seen anything like that. Notice the beautiful highlights on the sides of that bridge. Kind of looks like Paris to me, the Paris street lights. That shape of bridge is very common there. So I would guess it may be Paris, but who knows? The orange rooftops aren't maybe as dominant there. Let's see what else. This I really like because this feels, I don't know why it felt to me like the UK, though it could be also France somewhere. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's just so beautiful. It's everything is so clear, and if you notice, his impression is really different from many other artists. For example, he does these sorts of street lamps so light that like a very thin paint, and it works beautifully. And then you have this with an opaque paint, or I don't know what he used for this, but it just works beautifully. And a bit of a smoother transition here near the edge of the photo, but then the painting, and then stronger and rougher changes near the more sharper parts. So beautiful work. Negative painting around the cars. Composition is quite simple with this one. It's just a bunch of buildings, but it works so well. And then always the birds for movement. And I think this is one of the last ones, I guess. Or, this is the last one. So Paris, I wanted to wrap it up with that. One of the bridges, and then the classic, typical Parisian architecture, and all of the buses, public transportation, then moving all the way upwards and getting to the Eiffel Tower. And I don't know if this is accurate in terms of the drawing, because it does seem to go uphill, and I'm not sure that happens, and we don't see the tops of these buildings as much, but it just works. It looks so beautiful, and it works. And I love the format, very unique to go in a portrait mode instead of landscape. Very unique and works beautifully. And if we zoom in here on the bridge, the fact that he did these wet and wet, these shadows, it's just genius. I have no other way of putting it. The water is green in this angle. It's just beautiful work. So anyway, you can see I'm a fanboy. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and now we can wrap it up. So this is it. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I think he has one of my favorite, I would say, styles. Let me know what you thought of my commentary and of the paintings. And also, as always, if there's an artist you want me to review in a future episode, let me know down below, and I'll be happy to do so. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you still haven't. I have tons of other videos like this one, and I will see you again in another one real soon.